Once there was a family named the Habels. There was Mabel Habel, Abel Habel, Cabel their son, and their faithful dog Table. He was named Table because that's how tall he was. His nose was even to the supper table. They lived in a beautiful valley. It had the softest grasses, the gentlest breezes, and for that reason it was called the Sable Valley. They were quite happy. They had a small home. It only had 4 rooms. There was Abel and Mabel's bedroom, Cabel's bedroom, which Table shared most of the time, a bathroom, and then one great room. On one side was the kitchen. Not much to it, but it was Mabel's favorite spot, for she could look out the one window and see a patch of wildflowers, the colors of the rainbow. On the other side was Abel's favorite spot, for it was a great stone fireplace with a comfy, soft chair to sit in after he'd worked in the fields all day. And beside that, a rocking chair for Mabel, the one she'd used when Cable was a baby. And in front of the fireplace, a hearth rug, large enough for Cable to stretch out and Table to lay beside him. Separating the two areas was their supper table, where they spent every meal together. And that's what they were doing that fateful day that the stranger came to Sable Valley. The Habels had finished their breakfast and were going to the front porch, as was their custom, to say goodbye, for Abel would go to the fields and work, and Cable had chores and play for himself, and Mabel, of course, would do work in the house. But as they gathered together on the porch, they looked up and they could see something very odd. Something they had never seen in Sable Valley before. It was a cloud, but it was not the clouds that brought the rains they needed. No, it was a cloud of despair, hung low and gray, and it seemed to hang above the stranger that was coming down the road. As he grew closer, they could see that he was twisted in agony. One side of him turned to the other, and his face torn in pain. And he stood there, looking at them. Good day. Abel's first, of course. Good day to you, sir. It is not often we have strangers in our valley. What is it we can do for you? Oh, I have a proposition for you. Yes. I wish to build the fabled houses of Sable Valley, so I will buy this valley from you. Oh, sir. No, we are quite content, as my husband, I'm sure, would attest to. Yes, this valley is not for sale. No. Oh, I see. Oh, I have not told you, yes. What I will give to you, the Habels of Sable Valley. I will give you the grandest house of all, the golden house of the fabled houses of Sable Valley. Yes, it will be grand, much more than what you have here. Sir, as I have said, we are content. There's nothing more we need, and our valley is just as we wish it. I see. And the twisted man began to pace wildly, muttering to himself, "Oh, what shall I do? I know. I shall show it to you. You see, I have some magic upon me. I shall show you the golden house, and then you will see what it is you desire, truly. Perhaps it is merely your ignorance of what can be."
Just as you described, there it sat on a hill amidst lush fields and rolling streams, and her heart was full of joy. She saw no one working in the fields, but she dismissed it. So they're merely in the yard of the castle preparing for our return. She rode to the gate, and she noticed an inscription. It said, "Be bold, people." Her heart was full of pride, but this must be the fox standing motto. She rode into the yard of the castle, and she found not a living soul. She dismissed it yet again. She walked to the main door, and she could see yet one more inscription. "Be bold, people," but not too bold. That was peculiar. She opened the door, and she found not a living soul. There in the hall, the tables covered with cloth and a grand staircase. She went up the staircase to the hallway, where there was what she would find behind that door. But she could not stop now. She walked slowly to the door, her heart beating faster and faster each moment. When she drew near, she noticed yet one more inscription. Be bold, but not too bold, lest thy heart's desire run cold. That was most peculiar. Her heart began to beat even faster. She knew she could not stop now. She opened the door slowly, and she found not a living soul, but instead the bodies of beautiful young women had been hacked to pieces. There was blood and gore on the floor. It could only be called a blood chamber. She turned to flee when she spied through a window Mr. Fox coming through the gate. What appeared to be the body of a young girl who had fainted. She flew down the stairs and she hid behind one of the tables just as Mr. Fox came into the castle. At that moment, he decided and spotted the diamond ring upon that wretched girl's hand, and at that moment decided he must have it. So he tugged and he pulled, and he could not get it off. So he drew his sword and he hacked her hand off. And the hand flew into the air and landed in front of Lady Mary. Lady Mary stifled her cries, for she knew if she uttered one sound, her life would be over. Mr. Fox could not find the hand, and decided to drag the wretched girl to the blood chamber and return for it later, and Lady Mary made her escape. How could she tell her father and others? Who would believe such a tale? So she could not sleep that night, and she found herself the next morning at her breakfast betrothal across the table from Mr. Fox. Of course she could not look at him. He noticed. Said, "My dear, you are so pale." I have had horrible dreams, Mr. Fox, horrible. Oh, relate them to us in the light of day, and it will soothe your soul. Lady Mary knew she had her opportunity to tell her story, so she began. "I dreamed last night that I did seek out the castle you described, there on a hill, amidst lush fields and rolling streams. And I did find it just as you described. I rode to the gate and I saw an inscription. It said, 'Be bold, be bold.' I rode into the yard of the castle to the main door where I saw yet another inscription. 'Be bold, but not too bold.' I went into the castle. There in the foyer was a grand staircase. I went up the staircase to a hallway where there was but one door. Mr. Fox began to pale himself. I walked slowly to that door and I could see yet one more inscription. 'Be bold, but not too bold, lest thy heart's desire run cold.' Mr. Fox stood. It was not so. No, it was not so. But Lady Mary continued. I did open the door, and I did find the blood chamber, your blood chamber, Mr. Fox, in my dream. And I did turn to flee when I saw you coming through the gate with the wretched girl. And I saw you, Mr. Fox, as you tried to get the diamond ring off her head. And I saw you, Mr. Fox, as you hacked her hand off." Mr. Fox stood, making his way to the door to make his escape, saying, "It is not so, no, it was not so, and God forbid it should be so." But Lady Mary continued staring at him and moved to him. "It is so. It was so. And I have the hand to prove it so." And with that, her father and her brother set upon Mr. Fox and hacked him to pieces. The right end to a demon, if you ask me. Now, I tell you this story not for fear of fright, but as a warning. When you give your heart to someone, you must know them very, very well, for you put your life into their hands.